So this is the article from Sajjan Toshini that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote. It is called Initiation into Spiritual Life. And I thought there's some devotees here who are attempting to get initiated. And there are some devotees who are already initiated, and it also would be nice to know what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote about this. The ceremony of Diksha, Jai Shishi Vijayaguranga Dayalnita Ki Jai. The ceremony of Diksha or initiation is that by which the spiritual preceptor, meaning Guru, admits one onto the status of a neophyte on the path of spiritual endeavor. Bhaktisiddhanta's language is also a little bit maybe difficult, meaning that this initiation means that Guru or spiritual master brings one neophyte devotee on the spiritual path, neophyte person on the spiritual path. This is initiation. There's a spiritual path here, and the Guru said, this is the path you should go. And this is what initiation means. Or as we spoke last time, Dara Mataji asked, and I gave the story of Virabhaku Prabhu, what he told me what initiation means, that the Guru holds the hand of his Guru and his Guru to the Lord Chaitanya, and then he said, give me your hand. This is basically what initiation means. I thought it was a very nice explanation. This is what initiation is. This is the way to go up there. The ceremony tends to confer spiritual enlightenment by abrogating sinfulness, meaning this. Actually, not read this because it's difficult English. The ceremony means that this is also not just showing the spiritual path, but this is the beginning of giving up your sinful activities. This is initiation. You know, as we spoke many times, the devotees think, oh, I'm initiated now, I'm better than these guys, you know, who are bhaktas. I remember when I was first initiated, I was so proud, you know, my name. And somebody calls me, oh, Bhakta Sasha. And I'm like, you know, I'm Jaya Sachinandan, I'm not. And they were like, oh, sorry. After 1 hour, you know, they call you for 2 years, Bhakta Sasha, and suddenly after 1 hour, somebody calls you Bhakta Sasha, and you're like, no. Jaya Sachinandana, Das. You're so proud. At least I was proud. I don't know. Maybe I'm a proud person. But the reality is that we are just brought to there like a small sheep. You know, this is okay. You know, sheep goes to some bushes and you with a stick. No. This way. This is sheep. Like, okay, I'll go. And then you tell the sheep, from now on, you cannot go to eat this very tasty grass. You cannot. And the sheep like, why? You know? So this is what initiation is. You know? You have to stop going to the other tasty grass, which is actually bad for you, and stay on this path. And its actual effect depends on the degree of willing cooperation on the part of disciple, and therefore is not the same in all cases. This is an interesting point. The initiation is not the same for everybody because it depends on the willing cooperation of the disciple who get initiated. You know, so many people get initiated. Like when I got initiated in Mayapur, it was 1995, second initiation. There was like hundreds, I don't know how it's nowadays, but hundreds of the stage, you know, hundreds of devotees. You know, there was maybe 30 devotees or 50 devotees from the various gurus. All the gurus were sitting on the big stage, and then everything is finished. And now everybody moved because disciples of Jayapataka Swami are coming. They came like 300 people. You know, Jayapataka Swami Nisha. We all like sitting there hour after hour, initiating, and then he finished. You know, they have all these beads, and he hands us beads here, and he's like, anybody else? Anybody else to get initiated, you know? So he initiated like at least 300 people that day. So I was just thinking, you know, all these 300 people, or whatever, all of us who were sitting there, maybe whatever, 500 people, how many, or 400 people, each of us now, where are those people, you know? Where are all these people, 500 people who got initiated in 1995? The point is that the initiation is just giving an opportunity for devotee to make advancement. But it's up to you, as Bhakti Sandra says, willing cooperation to make this advancement. We have to take the chance. Some people get the chance, some people, like in football, soccer, some people get 2 minutes. Okay, get in 2 minutes, and in these 2 minutes you have to show your best. If you don't use it, then you don't use it. Of course, we have our 2 minutes is whole lifetime. We have a whole lifetime chance to actually use this opportunity to advance the spiritual life. So therefore, it is not the same in all cases. So you can say, oh, this devotee is a special devotee, or this, whatever, sannyasi is a very special sannyasi. But we all have the same opportunity. This is the point. We have the same chance, same opportunity. You just have to take it. For everybody, it's available. Really, for everybody. Everybody. The same. It's not like for this person has more opportunity. Maybe from the last life, this person has more, more pious credit accumulated. But the opportunity is the same. We may struggle, not like Navina Nirada, for example. When he joined when he was 13 years old, 14. And he became, after 1 or 2 years, he became number 2 in book distribution in the world. I mean, who can do this? 15 years old child. It's a child. Distributes like 700 books a day, every day. Like, how is it possible? It's obviously from the past life. And yet some other devotees, I talked to one devotee recently, a friend of mine. He said first 10 years, at least 3 years, he said he did many times 0 on Sankirtan. 0. He said, but he went. It's not like he was not spacing out. He went out and struggling. No, 0. And he comes back and thinks, oh my God. Then he does 1 book, 4. And now he's now devotee, how many? He joined 98, 97. So many years in Krishna consciousness, and now he goes out and he does 40 books. But he's still distributing books after all these years, almost 30 years, doing book distribution. And slowly I can see that he's making big advancement. He's actually a very advanced devotee. But it takes for some people it takes slower, but the opportunity is the same. This is the point. The opportunity is the same for everybody. So we cannot say, oh, I couldn't, or we like to have excuses. This is the influence by the mode of ignorance, lamentation, oh, if I could only do this, I could have. If only this, I could have. If only that, I could have. There's all excuses. All excuses. Influenced by the mode of ignorance. So, next. It does not preclude the possibility of this is the interesting point. It does not preclude the possibility of a revision on the novice to the non-spiritual state. Means, it does not also, initiation does not mean that you will not go back to the materialistic way of life. It's not like whatever nowadays they say, if you get the vaccine, that at least this was last year, you will have no COVID, no influence, nothing, And then 3 months later, oh, actually you will have, But if you get the second one, you will not have. And now, oh, if you get the third one, and then who knows, in the 4th one, 6th one, every week. So it's the same. It doesn't mean if you get initiated now, you will never be materialist again. No. Only, he says here, if he slackens in his effort or misbehaves, only if you slacken in your effort and you misbehave. Misbehave means if you start breaking the principles, or if you slacken in your sadhana, if you slacken in your devotional practice. Sometimes you meet all the devotees and say, yeah, after some time I kind of start neglecting my 16 round. This is like very common, you can hear this. Yeah, I thought, what the hell, I'm still a devotee. And therefore I remember when I was reading this paradox in philosophy called paradox of heap. This is my favorite example. Like, what is a heap? Heap? What is a heap? Haufen, but what is a better word?
A large accumulation of things.
Like a group, like a pile. Pile of rice. Oh. Like a pile, like a heap of rice.
Oh.
So if you see you said, yes, I recognize it. So it's a pile of rice on the table. So pile of rice means that you know what pile is. Can you define what pile is? How many grains of rice is a one pile? you know. Like 1,700 grains of rice makes one pile of rice. But does it 1,699 grains of rice make one pile? Maybe, maybe not. And then if you reduce, does 50 grains of rice make one pile? You know? So my analogy is like, what does it mean to be Krishna conscious? Does it mean to be, if I chant 16 rounds, am I Krishna conscious? Or if I drink one coffee a day, am I Krishna conscious? You said yes. I'm still reading. Only just one coffee. Not a big deal. So the question is, how many coffees you need to drink to consider yourself not Krishna conscious? 7, 15. So like this. So how many rounds? I can chant 15 rounds and I'm still Krishna conscious. I can chant 4 rounds and be Krishna conscious. So how many rounds do you need to chant to consider yourself Krishna conscious? Of course, the devotees who live in the temple, it's a different story. But this is talking for the people who don't. Nobody's supervising. Your guru doesn't go to your apartment in the morning and call you. How many rounds did you chant? You have to chant for yourself. Or if I eat whatever, some unauthorized cookies, whatever, which are not bona fide as we call it. So, or I watch one movie. How many movies do I need to watch that I consider myself in Maya? If I watch one movie that said, I'm still Krishna conscious, one movie, what is a movie? Just some pictures going here and there. Then you watch 2 movies, then you watch 7 movies. I'm still Krishna conscious. So the point here is we can all slack in our Krishna consciousness. So it's up to each individual to find out what is my last limits. Prabhupada gave us last limits and we should uphold these last limits. And last limits are the 16 rounds, 4 regulative principles, eating only prasadam. These are the last limits under which Prabhupada didn't want us to go. We can chant 64 rounds, it's not forbidden. It's not forbidden, Bhakti Moritz, to chant 64 rounds. To read 10 hours a day, not forbidden. To serve, not forbidden. To wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, not forbidden. But under 16 rounds, we should not go. This is the at least devotees who are serious, devotees who initiated, especially the second initiate, should not go under this. Because if we do slack, there's always opportunity and chance to slip down to the materialistic way of life. Initiation puts a person on the true track and also imparts an initial impulse to go ahead. Initial impulse. Because sometimes we speak, and I heard recently, I don't know exactly now, I'm listening many lectures now, is it here or I heard it online. When devotee says, how is it when I was young devotee, I was so enthusiastic. And then later on, this enthusiasm is gone and my Krishna consciousness became very dry. And you're struggling to your rounds, you think like, oh my God, 16 rounds seem like climbing the mountain, like 16, you're on the 12, you think, oh my God, who's going to chant 4 more, And your tongue is like, blah, 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 and you're like, I will do anything, I will run, I will jump into the cold river, but not any more rounds. And so you wonder, what happened to this initial enthusiasm? When I joined, I was so enthusiastic, I was fired up, What happened to this? But this is what Bhaktisiddhanta said. This is initial imparts an initial impulse. There's initial enthusiasm, initial boost. So you can just, like airplane. There's initial boost. Then you're in the air. So this initial boost, Krishna gives this initial boost to go ahead. But it cannot, however, keep on going for good unless one chooses to put forth his own voluntary effort. So come back again. We have to put our own, but emphasis on voluntary effort. When you're a young devotee, bhakta, they tell you, clean this, do this, and you're like, okay, I'll do it, You have to do it. They someday tell you what to do. But later on, it's a voluntary effort. Who is telling you what to do? Some people maybe, but mostly nobody. Who is telling you now you should wake up and go to Mangalarti? Nobody really. It's a voluntary effort. I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to preach Krishna consciousness. We read recently Bhakti Srila Prabhupada was, I remember, he was kicked out of the Gaudiya Math temple. And he was like, because he wanted to preach, he wanted to publish books, he wanted to distribute books, he wanted to preach to the influential people. Nobody told him what to do, but he had this impulse. I want to do this for my Guru Maharaj, to please my Guru Maharaj, which means to please Krishna. Voluntary effort. The nature of the initial impulse also varies in accordance to the condition of the recipient. Even the initial impulse depends on how interested we are in Krishna consciousness. Some people, some bhaktas are, ecstatic, they call it bhakta bliss in my time, bhakta bliss. Isn't it? Oh, he's the bhakta bliss here. And he was like, Haribol Prabhu, he said, can you bring it? Oh, of course. Come back. Everything is falling, he's like, hey, this Prabhu, bring anything else I can do for you? Thank you. Bhakta bliss. And some bhaktas are grungy. Oh, really? I have to clean this floor. I hate this. Anyways, I'll do it. They tell me. You clean the floor because they tell you to do it. This evil they tell me to do. Everything is wrong. Everything's and you know what he's told me. That's that. But although the mercy of the good preceptor enables us to have a glimpse of the absolute and of the path of his attainment, the seed thus is sown requires carefully tending under the direction of the preceptor. Meaning, although Guru gave you this path or gave this opportunity to serve Krishna, this is only a seed, and this seed has to be very carefully taken care of under the guidance of this Guru. So under the guidance of the Guru. So meaning that we, as coming back again, there's a hierarchy in the spiritual world. There's a hierarchy. It's not like now we all, as we spoke last time, Facebook style. Everybody can give a comment. Everybody can say, "Oh, I don't agree with this. I think this Maharaj, it's not good. And I don't agree with this." You may not agree, but there's a way to express your disagreement in a bona fide Vaishnava etiquette way. Not like this is stupid. I witnessed something really stupid. Some devotees. There's a certain way, even if you disagree, there's a way to express this. But not that now we're all the same, because we don't know where is this person coming from. Like Maharaj Rahugana was sitting in a palanquin and they carried him in the Srimad Bhagavatam. These 4 people, they had somehow the 4th person failed from his duty, and they're like, let's find anybody who on the field. This guy looks strong enough, and there was some guy like standing there looking at trees, Maharaj Bharat, his name was Jada Bharat at that time in this incarnation. They said, hey, you, come here, carry this. And he's like, okay, carry. And then he saw the ants, and he's like, oh, I don't want to step on ants. And the palanquin was shaking. And the king was so fried, how dare you to shake my palanquin? And he started offending Jada Bharat. Really? Did you, whatever? A very cynical offense. He thought he's better than Jada Bharat because Jada Bharat comes from the field and he comes from the higher palace. And Jada Bharat started preaching to him. He said, actually, you're stupid. You're on the bodily platform. And when Maharaj Rahugana saw this king, he just went down and bowed down to Jada Bharat. So the point there, what I mentioned with this story is that it may seem apparently that this person is just some regular guy, or this person is, but you don't know what is the background of thousands of sacrifices, thousands and thousands of prayers, thousands and thousands of rounds. So therefore we need this hierarchy as a respect, because nowadays, especially in India, whoever is loudest, he speaks. If you're loudest, you speak. If you're powerful, you speak. The others don't have right to speak. Like, we have in politics, this is very famous in politics. Whoever is the most weapons, they are the right, the history is written by the winners. I win, and then I say, oh, he was a bad person. And then we're reading in school, oh, he was a very bad person. But we don't actually know what happened. Because the might makes right. This is material world. The might makes right. So in the spiritual world, this is not like this. It's not like now I'm louder, or I have a better car now, and I have an education. And what is this? Some beggars, devotees, they're beggars. I know better. So this is not the case. The case here is has to be the seed has to be under the direction of a spiritual master. If it is to germinate and grow into the fruit and shade-giving tree, if this seed is supposed to grow actually and become another tree which gives shade and fruit. Interesting, shade and fruit. The tree gives shade and fruit means gives shelter to other people, and fruit gives actually its own fruit of bhakti to others for Verfügung, to give to the other people, shade and fruit. So we have to also become a tree which gives shade, which gives fruit. It's not like now, okay, I'm practicing, and I go and some big, singer comes and we go home, pay 200 euros, see Haribol, wonderful evening, and we go home. And no, we have to become that tree also ourselves. This is the point, that we have to grow, to have fruit ourselves, and to give shade to other people. And the other people may not be 10,000 or 30,000 disciples like Maharaj I just mentioned. Has so many disciples. We can give one person, we can give to our wife, we can give to our child, we can give to our neighbor. I know one person, or he has like 2 or 3 people he maintains for many, many years, and they always consider him friend, but also a guru in a sense. So this is what we should do. In this way, Bhakti, Nityananda Prabhu said that we should become guru and deliver the whole world. This is what guru means. We have to be guru as this tree to give shade and to give fruit. People have to have some kind of nourishment from us, meaning those who are of a little less years in the movement than we are, or just in the beginning path. Sometimes people ask you, what about this, what about this, what about this? And so you have to give them this shade, you have to give them shelter. So, unless our soul of his own accord chooses to serve Krishna after obtaining a working idea of his real nature, he cannot long retain the spiritual vision. Meaning, unless we serve Krishna, we cannot stay for long devotees. So we have to also serve Krishna. We have to serve Krishna. Because Prabhupada said, if you don't serve God, we will serve dog. And this is now, there's such a sad, you see the outside, you feel like really sad about these people, especially old people. They have these little dogs, 20 centimeters, these little dogs. And they just, they're so enamored with the little dog. And when they die, they'll become straight dog themselves, because they meditate on these little dogs. But we have to therefore serve Krishna instead of serving a dog. The soul is never compelled by Krishna to serve it. It means the soul is never pushed or forced. There's no force of Krishna. You must serve me. There's no such a thing. There's instructions, and maybe forced in the beginning, first few months, when you go to the Bhakti program, until you maybe get initiated. But after this, you have to decide yourself. I want to serve Krishna. It's a voluntary thing. Anyways, we have more about this. It is just the first paragraph, basically, of the article, which is a wonderful article. I thought just like a wonderful article. But it's only 5 to 9 if you would like to say something, Maharaj, or anybody else. Yes.
You mentioned about preparation for preaching.
Yes.
This 10 years he was chanting mantra.
No, this is after.
After.
Yes, he was just working. He was just living on the court and just reading all kinds of books and working. He edited magazine. He was teacher, tutor in the court.
This was at the beginning.
Yes.
This was first time.
Sorry?
This was his first ashram. Few brahmacharis maybe. He was chanting. This also was like preparation.
Yes, he was chanting 9 years.
Yeah.
192 rounds.
Eating.
Sorry?
He was eating a little bit.
Yes, this was after. Yeah, after that he was preparing to preach, he wanted to do some tapasya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur advised him, he gave him this instruction, to chant 1 billion names. And 1 billion names, if you chant 192 rounds every day, it's around 9 years.
This was preparation.
This was also preparation.
To
get spiritual strength and mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He had this deity of Lord Chaitanya. This deity is in Mayapur now. He just chanted in front of this deity, just Lord Chaitanya, for 9 years. And he would be so absorbed. And even then, after the chanting, he would still read and preach and give lectures. And people will come from all over, even Bengal. They heard about this sadhu. So they came to hear from him, to see what he has to say, what he's doing. You know, people already they heard about this amazing person. So heavy sadhana and heavy meditation and the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gokishadas Babaji and the whole parampara. And even then, there's a description how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was despondent. He gave up. He started preaching and he said, I cannot do this. People are not interested in, people are completely no response and some offending him, and he gave up. He actually gave up, interesting enough. Because sometimes, the preachers, they think, sometimes, oh my God, this is hopeless. I cannot preach. I'm useless, Look at Prabhupada, he just went there, and you think, like, what am I doing, And you think, I'm just going to, go somewhere and become a cook, or whatever. What's the point, And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was thinking like this also, he was despondent. And then in dream, the whole parampara came. It was a list, everybody was there, all parampara, and they said, what are you doing? Come, join us, forget about this moroseness, come with us, go and preach. I was like, he woke up in the morning and said, okay, Hare Krishna. Maybe I should go and preach. So we cannot expect the parampara. Maybe if you chant 192 rounds for 9 years, maybe parampara will come and say, Jaram, I come. But, at least we should try our best. And we know that Krishna is always on our side, and we know the desire of our parampara. This is the desire of our parampara. The desire of our parampara is not to sit in Vrindavan Dham and chant even 192 rounds. It's nice, but this is not the desire of parampara. You will go back to Godhead and everything, but this is not the desire of parampara. The desire is to preach Krishna consciousness. This is the desire. We have an external reason, appearance of Lord Chaitanya, and an internal reason. External reason is to preach. Of course, with Lord Chaitanya, there is no external, everything is the same. But this is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And many times, devotees who live in the Holy Dham or whatever, sometimes, particularly in the Babaji line, they say, this is more important because this is internal. But this is not so. Prabhupada says, the advanced devotees, they preach. The advanced devotees preach. Yes?
I thought you were...
No, you lifted your hand.
You were mentioning about the Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was one member was not wearing shoes.
Sorry?
He was not wearing shoes, and nowadays in ISKCON we see people or sannyasis also
not wearing shoes.
Not wearing shoes actually. So is that actually contradictory process?
It's a Frashwaram theory. No, I actually said, maybe you didn't understand properly, but I actually said the Bhaktisiddhanta was wearing shoes.
Oh, okay. But still, is Gaudiya more strict than ISKCON? That's the question.
And his shoes had a specific purpose.
Yes, exactly.
He was studying to preach to the English.
Yes.
And that's why he had got certain standards.
Yes, very nice point, Maharaj.
For them to take him serious.
Yeah, the answer.
And he came in the Kunda by in a Rolls Royce. Two brahmacharis with his gun. Who is this? And he preached Sri Shapanasha.
Yes.
He said you just imitate Goswami.
Yes.
he showed you tolerance or engage with Krishna.
Anything else? Questions about initiation? Bhakti Moritz, everything's clear. He's ready to take initiation. Yes.
Thank you. I want to я хочу вернуться к дневнику, который мы вначале читали.
Okay, I understand, but you can say of Deutsch. Oh, okay. He wants to talk about the diary, transcendental diary. You can speak Russian. He wants to ask something from the transcendental diary.
Когда вы сказали про Гурукулу,
Yes.
как там должно проходить обучение, то я вспомнил один момент, что вырос преданный ребенок в семье преданных, он вырос и все время читал Шримад Бхагаватам.
Yeah.
И потом закончил Гарвард и полностью как бы на Шримад Бхагаватам основываясь, он проходил свое обучение в институте, школе и так далее. И закончил с отличием все на основе Шримад Бхагаватам, просто изучение. Ему родители просто давали священное писание.
He wanted to say how there was a child, he was reading Srimad Bhagavatam and he got all the grades based on Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he finished the whole school just by studying Srimad Bhagavatam.
High school and university.
At high school and university, okay, just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. I actually learned English. When I joined, I did not speak English, When I came to India in '92, I did not speak any English. Almost like a few words, basically. And I read, by reading Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's. I didn't read any dictionary, any school. I just read I remember the devotees told me two things. Read Srimad Bhagavatam and listen to Prabhupada's lectures. Prabhupada's English is very difficult, And I remember, again, Ramburu Mataji, the Pritha Prabhu's wife, she told me, even if you don't understand anything, just listen. The Prabhupada's sound vibration will purify you. And the Bhagavad Gita will purify. I remember I read Bhagavad Gita first, whole Bhagavad Gita from the beginning to end. I didn't understand anything. Anything. In English. And I just read again and again and again and again. And after 6 months, I could give lecture. Everybody was like, wow, your English is good. And I didn't go to any school, anything, just by reading Prabhupada's books. And nobody was there from, my language. I had to just have to learn. So, Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam.
English was a language, it's called language.
Yes.
All the temples they spoke English.
Yes.
When I joined, nobody spoke German, and everybody spoke English.
Yes, this was the language.
And still they try to preach in Dutch.
Yes.
It was terrible, nobody would understand anything. Still, devotees, who became attracted and learned English. Actually, we didn't learn English, we learned American.
Yes, American, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why when I was now in England, I say something and they said, no, this is not how we say it. I say, well, I know this is what American English is, I speak American English, and they know we say it differently here in England. Okay.
The British, they actually wanted, the British devotees, they didn't agree with the American officials. They wanted their own English. Yes. Same thing is happening with Spanish also. South America, they have their own Spanish.
Yes.
And when they read the translation of from Spain, they all laugh.
Yeah.
It's old-fashioned Spanish.
Yeah. Virabhaku Prabhu, he translated most. Yes. And that's what Prabhupada said, there's not really need much to, and the whole thing is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Yena tena prakarena, mana Krishna nevesayet, eter sarva vidi nisheda sur, eter eva kinkaram. Sarva vidis, all the regulations and rules are meant for one purpose, to always remember Krishna and never forget him. Therefore, whatever we do, the schooling, even grammar, for example, Sanskrit, Jiva Goswami, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but one devotee studied this and he said, Jiva Goswami is amazing. He put all in the Sanskrit grammar, always you can remember Krishna, but by using this, somehow he made a new whatever Vyakarana he called it, whatever. Even grammar, you can make it somehow to remember Krishna. So this is the point, always everything to be targeted towards Krishna. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Just as Mridanga become obedient, then we can continue. We are reading from Transcendental Diary, now we are in Shri Vrindavan Dham. This is year 1976. Jagadisha Prabhu, while acting as Srila Prabhupada's secretary, is still heavily involved with the development of the Gurukula here in his capacity as the Minister of Education. Prabhupada has also asked Pradyumna to remain here to teach Sanskrit when we leave. After breakfast, Prabhupada talked at length with the two of them, discussing various aspects of the boys' education. He is keen to see that things be managed properly and that the boys be trained to a high Brahminical standard. While discussing some of the problems they face, Jagadish mentioned that he was looking for some sane man to teach in Gurukula. Prabhupada replied with amused irony, "Everyone is crazy. Take it for granted. You'll not find any sane man. The problem is to train them how to become sane." And we had recently discussed here about the article Prabhupada wrote, "Who is crazy?" And the reason Prabhupada wrote, inspired, I think Hansadutta Prabhupada wrote this article, is because people are saying Hare Krishnas are crazy. And the reason why they are crazy because they don't participate in the society, in the materialistic society. They shun the materialistic society. And nowadays we have a somewhat mixed craziness and saneness in the Hare Krishna movement. Meaning saneness, I mean that we do approve, or we support, or we condone, or we go along with the current governments throughout the world, which could be a good thing, but could be also not good thing. So it is according to follow Prabhupada, I think it is better to stay a little bit crazy in the sense of the materialist. But that means to stay crazy means that we have to actually act in such a way, meaning that we have to, the Hare Krishna movement has to become our life and soul, that we have to follow, as Prabhupada was saying, to start the farming communities, not so that we can have a nice farming community, we can make photos and put it on Facebook and say we have a nice farm, the Hare Krishna farm. But actually the reason to start farming communities is to cut the line between us and the society, to say we do not need you, we actually do not need you, we grow our own food, we weave our own clothes, we make our own way of living, we do not need your, as Prabhupada says, motor cars. What do we need motor cars for? Bullock carts? No. Hare Krishna. There's a voice of reason. Bullock carts. Prabhupada wanted devotees to make their own clothes, to weave their own clothes. We were recently in Scotland. There's so many sheep. I was thinking, wow, this is actually very nice. There's so many sheep, so we can actually make clothes. There's also this temple has 2 alpacas. Alpacas are known to have very nice wool. You can make nice woolen dhotis, woolen saris. Because in India, people wear a piece of cloth. Those devotees who lived in India, many times as a brahmachari, I spent a year just having basically one. I was at a time I only had one dhoti, and then you wash it in the evening, and then in the morning it's already dry, or after a couple of hours it's already dried. And even if it's a little wet, you just wear it anyway, so it dries in 1 hour. But in the West, it's not the fact. So, but we have sheep, we have whatever the other animals. We can make our own clothes, and this is our grandmothers and grandfathers, great grandmothers and grandfathers. Even my grandmother actually. She had some sheep, and she would cut. Professional people will cut the wool, and they will wash the wool. They have this pool. They wash the wool, and then from this wash they dry it outside in the sun, and they take this, make threads, different how thin or thick, and they will make socks. They will make sweaters. They will make clothes. So this is what Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada wanted this, and this is a great need. This is a very great need, actually, to have our own farming communities, not just a farm, but also regarding the food. Look at now, for example, when Corona started, there was everybody was rushing to the supermarkets, buying. First thing which disappeared, two items, mostly 2 items disappeared from the stores. First is toilet paper. Very important item, toilet paper. People are buying toilet paper like crazy. We were in Leipzig, remember we went like no toilet paper. And then somebody got like, wow, they got a toilet paper. It's amazing. Second thing was disappeared is pasta, empty shelves, because this is what people know how to cook. Macaroni. This is what people know how to cook. Pasta, toilet paper. But if we live in the countryside, what do we care about pasta? What do we care about toilet paper? So this is why Prabhupada wanted these farms. And you can see the Prabhupada's vision now, especially during this Corona time, the Prabhupada's vision was amazing. All what Prabhupada wrote about, non-cooperation with the material world, and now you can see how the reason for it. Because this is just a, small, maybe it will develop into big, we don't know. But at the moment, this is just small crisis. And this small crisis show how could world become in the times of the big crisis. And therefore we need this. We need so many small farms, so many big farms, so many Hare Krishna villages. We saw this documentary, I have to repeat again. What's the name, Nitya, the Christians? Anyways, a group of Christians in England. What, in England? They bought the whole village, this whole surrounded area. And they have how many thousands, something like a village, thousands of people.
I think
1,000 people. Sorry? Some kind of.
A long time ago,
a year ago.
Special sectarian.
It's some kind of Christian sect. It's a Christian.
America, from America?
From America, yes.
I mean, from America?
Yes, they are from America, but they moved to England. I forgot the name of it.
Mennonites?
No?
Amish?
No. There's some, I don't know the name. Quaker, maybe, something like this. But they lived completely not cooperating with anybody. Of course, they have their own clothes, and they have just quickly to describe. They have like a room for clothes, and you just go there and you said, I need a jacket, and they just bring you a jacket, and you take a jacket. But whatever you get, you have to get. You cannot choose. I like blue one. I like whatever they give you, you take. This is the whole point. We accept whatever God gives us, and the food is also, everything is for free, but they all put effort in it, and they make money. They make some toys or some kind of, they're a factory. They develop. Everybody works in a factory. Somebody's cook. It's like very organized society, which everybody contributes, but at the same time they're totally isolated from the society and independent. I thought it was, wow, this is interesting. Anyways. This is what Prabhupada's genius was. The Prabhupada wanted this. And therefore, Prabhupada wanted the Gurukula. This is amazing. The Prabhupada saw it. Why would we send our children to the, as he called it, slaughterhouse of the modern education? Slaughterhouse. When you think about it, what you learn in the school nowadays, it's a slaughterhouse. I mean, I remember, even in my days, we learned that I just remember the picture, for example, the universe, everything looks so cold. There was a darker blue color, or the grayish color of the universe, and some stars and planets also blue. They look very cold. Life is only on Earth planet. There's nowhere else. And you think like, wow, this is such a universe. It looks terrible, cold, ashes and sand. But here we have life. Or I remember the fish. There was a fish with a missing link. I remember this fish. And this fish is scientists are looking for this fish to describe how can from fish, the first fish would start having legs or something like this. So they're missing this fish. So, and this is what we learn in school. Nowadays, of course, become worse and worse. What to speak of the education. And this is a very, authoritarian. You cannot express your opinion. You cannot say, no, I don't agree with this. I actually have this argument that, we came not from monkeys or whatever. And you cannot pass any degrees, anything. So this is a slaughterhouse of education. Prabhupada says here, he established already minister of education. Even then, this is the early days. So Prabhupada, in few years, he already had worked out everything worked out. Gurukula, to teach the kids. And I read this book by Jagadish, at that time Maharaj. I don't know if this book is still around, but this was maybe 30 years ago. The Jagadish explains what Prabhupada gave him instruction, what he wanted from the Gurukula. It's very simple, actually, very, very easy, very simple. Teach some mathematics, teach some little geography to the world, and basically just learn how to be a devotee. You should send kids to preach. Actually, Gurukula is meant to train preachers. This is what Prabhupada wanted from Gurukula. Not to become a big, brahmanas or whatever. He wanted them to be preachers, to be practical. Prabhupada was very, very practical. I remember once when I was my also early days, Prithu Prabhu's wife, Rambaru Mataji, she told me, because we were traveling and it was difficult to, somehow we didn't have a time, and we arrived late in the evening and I was thinking, what should I do with my dhoti now? How do I wash? And she said, Prabhupada was very practical. She said, just put through the water 2-3 times, dhoti. And she said, Prabhupada sometimes did this also, and it's considered clean. I was like, wow, Prabhupada was practical. It was not like, now we have to follow this strictly, put the soap. No, just 2-3 times, and it's considered washed. Prabhupada also said, the fruit, in a time of, you're in a hurry, something that fruit is so pure, you can just touch to your head, I just read recently, and say Hare Krishna, and fruit is considered offered. Prabhupada is practical. So, after breakfast, any comments, Maharaj? After breakfast, Prabhupada talked at length with two of them, discussing various aspects of the boys' education. Oh, sorry, we did this. The crazy, who is crazy? And they said, Jagadish wanted, who is the sane man? And Prabhupada says, everyone is crazy. There's no such a thing as sane man. Take it for granted. You will not find any sane man. So therefore we have to train the devotees to become sane. But this is the emphasis on train the devotees. This is also one thing which needs to be slowly established in the Hare Krishna movement, that we have to train people actually. That we actually have to train people in the tenets of Bhakti. What is Bhakti and what is the Bhakti culture? Because culture and Bhakti go together. Culture and the Hare Krishna movement has to be also taught. It's not like now we can live completely Western lifestyle and add Hare Krishna mantra, which is nice, pious, but this is not going to lead to the world change. Prabhupada wanted to change the world, so therefore new culture has to be introduced or reintroduced. So this also has to be taught. The culture. Prabhupada once said that Hare Krishna movement will win the world with the cultural conquest. This is interesting. Cultural conquest. Therefore, we have all these varnas, and we have ashrams, and we have ethics, and we have, how do you properly behave, how do you not behave. All these things seems like, this is all okay for the 70s, but now I just need to chant Hare Krishna and everything is good. It's not going to work so much. That's a fact. And it's obvious, it's not. We have to reintroduce the culture. Because Prabhupada says, the Varnashram Dharma is meant for people who will be distinguished from the animals. If people don't follow Varnashram Dharma, this is considered animal life. So therefore, we have to try to at least follow Varnashram Dharma to don't live on the level of animals. So this is like shocking to hear, but this is a fact. People who have no control. You see, like for example, a cow goes in the field and just walks and passes through. Cows, they walk and pass through. We cannot do this. And this is what people do. They just consider, break the principles here, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Because it pollutes the whole environment, pollutes the society. And therefore, as such, it cannot bring peace to the society. And where there is no peace, the mind cannot be peaceful. And if mind is not peaceful, then the Mahamantra cannot, grow. The seed of Mahamantra cannot grow substantially. That said, a little heavy introduction. I watched some heavy things, so I have to somehow feel a heavy mood a little bit.
It's not heavy, it's sweet.
No, because I watched this. This devotee explained how the need for preaching. He says how in the 60s, not in the 70s, in the 60s, the people are joining very easily, because there was the atmosphere of positive atmosphere or favorable atmosphere for people to join the Hare Krishna movement. And later on, it become more like institutionalized. That's become like he compares this to a net. You're sitting there, you throw the net, or you don't even throw the net. You are just sitting and hoping that the fish will catch. If you're a fisherman, like how can you expect for fish to catch if you don't throw the net? And even if you do throw the net, you throw the net. As he calls it, lazy intelligence. You throw the net, you just sit there and you hope some fish will catch. He said there's a whole planning behind it. You have to go to the place, you have to know exactly what kind of net or what kind of some other arrangement. There's maybe other arrangement to catch. Or he said this is like an active, preaching means active meditation and active preparation for the whole enterprise. Anyways, so we read from Srimad Bhagavatam, just this one verse, which is quite unusual verse, I want to say. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Tasya Hava Ete Shloka Priyavrata Kritam Karma Konu Kuryad Vineshwaram Yone Minimnai Rakaroj Chayam Gnan Saptavaridhin Tasya Hava Ete Shloka Priyavrata Kritam Karma Konu Kuryad Vineshwaram Yone Minimnai Rakaroj Chayam Gnan Saptavaridin. Bitte.
Priyavrata kritam karma Konu kuryat vineshwaram Yone vinimnair akarosh Shayam gnan saptavaridin.
Ladies.
Tasya Havayate Shloka Priyavrata Kritam Karma Konu Kuryat Vineshwaram Yone Minimnai Akarosh Shayam Gnan Saptavaridin.
Tasya Havayate Shloka Priyavrata Kritam Karma Konu Kuryat Vineshwaram Yone Minimnai Akarosh Shayam Gnan Saptavaridin.
Tasya, his, hava, certainly, ete, all these, shlokaha, verses, Priyavrata, by King Priyavrata, kritam, done, karma, activities, kaha, who, nu, then, kuryat, can execute, vina, without, Ishwaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yaha, one who, Nemi, of the rim of the wheels of his chariot, Nimnai, by the depressions, Akarot, made, Chayam, darkness, Gnan, dissipating, Sapta, seven, Varidin, oceans. And the translation is very simple. There are many famous verses regarding Maharaj Priyavrata's activities. That is the verse. And then from this come a few verses which describe glorification of Maharaj Priyavrata. But this is the verse. Purport. No one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could do what Maharaj Priyavrata has done. Maharaj Priyavrata dissipated the darkness of night, and with the rims of his great chariot, he excavated 7 oceans. We spoke about this before. There are many excellent verses famous all over the world concerning the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. He is so celebrated that his activities are compared to those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes a sincere servant and devotee of the Lord is also called Bhagavan. Sri Narada is also called Bhagavan, and Lord Shiva and Vyasadeva are also sometimes called Bhagavan. These designations, Bhagavan, is sometimes conferred upon a pure devotee by the grace of the Lord, so that he will be very highly esteemed. Maharaj Priyavrata was such a devotee. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. So, what to say on this verse? I will not say much about this verse, as much I will continue from the Tuesday or Thursday I gave a lecture talking about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and there was something unsaid, and this could also actually connect to even this verse. But the glories of the Lord, some devotees call themselves Bhagavan, because they're so amazingly empowered. You know, Prithu Maharaj was so empowered. So many different devotees, as here, Narada Muni, or who else he says, Vyasadeva, Lord Shiva. We read the other day in the morning, Nectar of Devotion, how that these devotees, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, they possess sometimes these 5 amazing godly qualities. So, the glories of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, we spoke how he was living very amazing preparation to preach Krishna consciousness. What really struck me about, connecting even to this to Prabhupada, what struck me with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was really meditating on how to preach Krishna consciousness. He was meditating on it. He was not just one day, he was born and then he suddenly, had a revelation, fell off the horse, like whatever his name is in the Bible. Anybody knows? Saint Paul, I think. He was going on the road to Damascus, and he was prosecuting Christians. He was very much against the Christians. He was a Jewish prosecutor or something like this, and he was chasing Christians, arrested them, put them to jail, and killed them. And then he fell off the horse. Somehow, a horse was restless, and he fell on the head. And while being unconscious, the Jesus appeared to him, and he said, "Why are you doing this against my people?" Sorry?
It was Pavel. His name Pavel.
Saint Paul, yeah.
Paul.
Pavel, yeah. He fell and he hit the head, and somehow Jesus came to him and said, "What are you doing? This is so..." And he said, "Okay, I will not." And he said, "From now on you should become Christian," something like this. And then he became the biggest proponent of Christianity. So this is not how Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati became devotee. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was devotee from the very birth. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was even inducing him to chant mantra when he was 4 years old or something. He gave this Nrisimha mantra to chant. He initiated him. Also, when he was 7 years old, they found a Shila, Kurma Shila. Well, they were excavating, they were building the house for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a rich person. They were building a house for him. And in the ground, they found this Shila, Kurma. And Bhaktisiddhanta said, "I want to worship." 7 years old boy. And Bhaktivinoda said, "Well, we are not Brahmana family. They came from Kayasta family. This is considered a Shudra family in Bengal at that time." But he gave it to Bhaktisiddhanta to worship Shila, this Shila. And we also, whoever said the last, I don't know who I gave class, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati could actually Hare Krishna. It's just straight in my face, the light. I don't mind. he would recite whole, when he was 10, 11 years old, he could recite whole Bhagavad Gita. And when he was 11 years old, Bhaktivinoda Thakur organized this so-called Namahata tour. He was touring different villages in the areas in Bengal. And sometimes would gather many thousands of people, sometimes 10,000 people together for the satsang. They would sing and they would give lectures. And Bhaktivinoda to let young Bimala Prasad give lectures. Imagine, thousands of people come, Bimala Prasad, 11 years old, give lectures. So he was already devotee, great devotee from the very birth. But even that, when he was around 19 years old, whatever, I don't know exactly, but something like teenage, he went to the university and he became such an expert scholar. And when he left the university because he realized he doesn't want to do this materialistic thing to Surya Siddhanta. They offered him a chair in the University of Calcutta, I think. And he gave up this and he went to work. He actually had a karmi job, as we call it, in the king's court. He was working for 10 years as a brahmachari. That was shocking to me. 10 years. He was teaching the kids of the king. Then later on he edited some magazine and so on and so forth. Everybody was very pleased with him. He was very amazing, also educator. And then after this, he thought, okay, I want to give up everything and I want to only preach the message of Lord Chaitanya. And then, even then, he didn't start preaching immediately. He was thinking, how can I do it? How? So he would travel all over. They said that when he was in the court already, he would study all kinds of philosophies, even Western philosophy, all kinds of Chinese. He would study everything. Just he wanted to gather as much knowledge as possible to see how can I preach to these people. He would study religions also. He would read different religions. And then he went on a tour. Particularly, he was interested in South India. So he went to South India and he was scrutinizingly analyzing how do these people organize themselves? How are they organized? How do they preach? And we see also the Hare Krishna movement as very much connection to the Ramanuja Sampradaya, in the sense that it's a very kind of similar approach. Like Madhva Sampradaya, they're much more, I don't want to offend, but unfriendly. They speak only Sanskrit, basically. Lectures. You sit on a lecture and somebody speaks Sanskrit. Imagine how many people would we have? If somebody said, "Oh, whatever, chayam gran," and you're like listening to Sanskrit lecture, Okay, how village people, who can listen to this? It was very much sannyas. Their sampradaya is very much sannyas-oriented sampradaya, on renunciation. So it's very difficult. And on the other hand, Ramanuja Sampradaya is more oriented towards Grihastha. Also they have sannyasis, very strict brahmacharis, but they have very, very many Grihasthas. It's also Grihastha, you can say, oriented. And so Bhaktisiddhanta went there and he scrutinized, okay, this works this way, this works, this I could apply, this I couldn't apply. So he was very keen observer for a long time. And also he observed the materialistic society. Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati formed this, which is called GBC, which we have now. GBC, Maharaj is a member of the GBC, Governing Body Commissioner. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was looking, what in India, what organization works the best? What is the best organized, enterprise here in this country? Indian Railway. Indian Railway works the best. Or best organized. So he said, how do they function? So he observed, okay, they don't have one person who is leader. They have a group of people who are called GBC, Governing Body Commissioners. So he said, this is how I should do. I should also have GBC. Amazing, Bhaktisiddhanta. Such a genius. And he, as we say, figured it all out. He was observing everything, and he came to this conclusion. Okay, I would need to take sannyas. And when we spoke last time, he was in Bengal, and there was nobody qualified to give him sannyas. No really good sannyasis, because in Bengal was not a culture of sannyasis. Bengal was more culture of free expression of love, you know, like we have all kinds of, you know, this and that, gurus and babas, and they all like rolling on the ground and crying, you know, wasn't really a, you know, strict person who strictly followed the Vedic culture. So for this he went to South India, he looked at sannyas. So he wanted to take sannyas, there was nobody to give. So he thought, I'm just going to take it myself. So he put a picture of his Guru Maharaj, and from the picture he took sannyas. It's very unorthodox, don't try this at home. Bhakti Alexei, no. No sannyas from the picture. And he did this, and then he organized, instituted this, which is we are calling nowadays brahmacharis, wearing saffron. Because in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas do not wear saffron. When Sanatana Goswami was wearing this cloth given to him by Lord Chaitanya, this was like a kind of coupon of Lord Chaitanya, sent to Sanatana Goswami, personal coupon of Lord Chaitanya. Sanatana Goswami was very pleased, he was in Vrindavan, so he wrapped his head, you know, with Lord Chaitanya's cloth, you know, I mean, imagine the Lord Chaitanya personally send you cloth, I mean. And then one devotee said, no, why are you wearing this? We are not wearing, there's one verse, I don't know exactly the verse, but it's called Raktam something, so Rakta is the red. You should not wear, the Vaishnava does not wear this color. So Vaishnavas actually, but Bhaktisiddhanta said for the sake of preaching, we have to organize preaching somehow. So he makes, okay, brahmachari. Jagadananda Pandit, yes. I didn't want to offend Jagadananda Pandit.
He tried to beat someone.
Yeah, I didn't want to offend Jagadananda Pandit. So we have brahmachari now. You know, Bhaktisiddhanta did all kinds of, you can say, compromises, and all kinds of innovations, like an amazing innovations. You can say he broke many rules, which are traditionally sannyas rules. We have this very amazing picture of Bhaktisiddhanta in this coat, like really nice coat. And this is like, nobody has ever done this, ever in the history of India. The sannyasi wears these nice clothes and nice shoes. Sannyasi is not supposed to wear shoes. I sent Jairam yesterday, day before yesterday, the rules of the ashram. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati for the Gaudiya Math. The sannyasi not supposed to wear shoes at all. No shoes. Always barefoot, even in winter time. This is the rule for Gaudiya Math. And so many other amazing rules. Bhaktisiddhanta wore shoes, nice, you know, coat, glasses, you know, very modern, you can say. So he did all kinds of these amazing things. But all for the sake of preaching, because he understood that the message of Lord Chaitanya needs to be spread all over the world, not only to the few people. This is the age of Kali, and the message of Lord Chaitanya has to be, he followed this verse, Pritivite Achayati, Nagaradigram, Sarvatra Prachar, Haibe Moranam. In every town and village, my name will be chanted. And we know devotees, at least in the past, they distributed books everywhere, they held harinams everywhere. I know in one country, one devotee told me, there was the one in the 90s, they had a plan, every house in the country must be approached. It's a small country, it's in Croatia. And they went every house is sometimes in the mountains, you know, devotees walk there. Every house must have a book, at least approached. You know. And they did, I think, and I remember there was in the year 2000, they made survey how many books have distributed each country. And Croatia, out of 4 million Einwohner, citizens, 1 million books have been distributed since the beginning of ISKCON. 4 million people, so every fourth person basically has one book of Prabhupada. It's amazing.
They also went to every door.
Yeah.
Not only one, several times.
Yes. This is when I sent to Navina, recently, when we were in Switzerland, sent to Navina near the picture, I'm in your homeland, and he said, don't tell me, I know every door of this country. I went many times, not just this, because I sent him picture on some street on a corner, and I just sent him the picture. I didn't say where is it from, and he said, oh, you're in Zurich. I said, how do you know? He said, don't tell me, I know every door, every door in this whole country. They went every door, every place, many times. So in every town and village, by the grace of course, Krishna, but the grace of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who envisioned how to organize the society, actually, in reality. Of course, Prabhupada went even a step further. Prabhupada did not invent anything new. This is very important to know. Prabhupada actually just saw what Bhaktisiddhanta started, and he just brought it to the West. He made few adjustments here and there, but he basically brought, this is what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati made. It's not a Prabhupada now how invented how to make an ashram. This is all made by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So what I wanted to read actually last time and this time, it's an article of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. This is from the, I don't know exactly which year, this is Sajan Toshani magazine started by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we spoke a little bit about Sajan Toshani magazine last time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to start this magazine which would bring the light in this dark material world. And this magazine only will deal with the spiritual topics, nothing else.